Okay, boys and girls, when you start your typography project, you should have your printed photograph to start, and you need a new sheet of plastic. You're going to put this photograph all the way into the seam of the sheet of plastic. That means all the way to that green line there, and really push it in so it sticks down flat. And then you should have written in your sketchbook a list of at least 10 words or more that you can use to describe your person. So if you have a double word like Black Panther, that can count as 1 and then 2. So I have more than 10 here. So you should have a couple variety of Sharpies, maybe a thick, medium, and a skinny. And then you're going to start to put some of these words that you brainstormed into the dark and the medium values of your person. Remember, skip the light values. If something is very bright, like the top of his nose, his forehead, cheeks, and lips, you're going to skip those parts. You don't want any color there with your black Sharpie. So the first thing I'm going to do with my portrait is outline just the outside of the head and the shoulders. And this will just give me kind of like a space where I have some lines so I know where I'm going. So really carefully just go around the outside of the head. I go around the outside of the ear, the top of the head. If your head stops on your paper, just continue it off the paper so it doesn't look like it's cut off. Then around the ear, then down the shoulder, and then that's it. Don't do any of the face features because all of those have to be described with just letters or words. Now when you go on the inside, you can start with any face feature you like. You can start with the hair, the neck, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna start with just the eyes so that you can see, just get an idea of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to try and fit a word or a letter into the shadow spaces of the eyes. So if you look at the eyes here, there's a big kind of like shape for the eyebrow. There's a big circle for the inside of the eye. There's some dark lines and areas that go around the eye. So you're imagining that the eye is made up of blocks of color shapes, color values. So pick a word or a letter, then you're gonna try and fit those inside. So I'm gonna pick, I think for the inside of the eye, I'm just going to do BP for Black Panther. And so I'm gonna get really close here, and I'm imagining that I'm trying to fill up the space of that circle with my letters. So look at how I'm stretching the B and the P so it really fits the outside of the circle and the curve, and I'm just going to make them a little bit thicker to fill up as much space as possible. Okay, so that's good so far. So I have 2 letters in there, and if you look, you can see the start of the eye right there. Okay, so the outside of the eyebrow here, I'm going to put the word superhero into there. So one thing you can do if you're trying to fit a word on the inside, you can start with the inner letters and then build out so you know how much space you have left. So I'm going to start with the R and the H, and I have to stretch these to fit that shadow area. And then I'm going to go back to super. And look at how the letters have to touch a little bit. They're going to get kind of cramped and squished, and you might not be able to read every single word. That's okay. The most important part, though, is that we fill the space with as much letter as we can. And this is a really dark area, so I'm darkening my letters and making them a little bit thicker so it fills as much space as possible. I'm even going to darken that top part there. So if you start to look here, it's going to start to look like that. Okay. Now there's some lines around, so I'm going to go really, really skinny for this part. So I'm going to start to put Marvel on the bottom here, and I'm going to really stretch that L so it fits, and Black Panther, so it stretches that part there. Okay, so if you start to see this, it's starting to look like this. I'm using really skinny letters to describe the lines around the eye as best as I can. Okay, I think this area is pretty good. I've got most of the dark areas here. There's a couple medium values here, but I think I'm gonna leave them blank for now and then come back to that. So when I go down to the nose here, maybe I can fit the word Black Panther into there. have to really stretch and squeeze those letters down there to really fit. Now, if I made a mistake here, I can go and get some nail polish remover and I can just erase that spot and try it again. So this is going to be a lot of editing. It's going to be trying to fit the letters in, and if it doesn't fit very well, then erasing and trying it again, okay? So I'm going to keep going. Make sure if your picture moves around, you stick it right back into where it's supposed to go. And then as you start to build these letters in, you'll start to see the portrait coming together. It's going to look kind of funny at first. So this doesn't exactly look like my person. But the more dark values that I get in there with letters and I really pack it in, the more it's going to start to look like my person. Two really dark areas that I have are the shadow of the chin down here and the hair. So I used my thick Sharpie to put some really thick letters really close together in those areas. And I had to put a lot of words to really fit those areas, okay? All right, let's get started.